labor on introduction because this guest is a social media icon. Every one of us know him. Quick one, Brother Delwin, the song is called Jerusalem. It's a 1970s, 1980s song by Sabano 75. It's called Jerusalem. Palon, 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 we dey go. We were there, so not to that new one away, First Lady like for dance. So you go check them up. I will send you the details later. But many thanks and welcome to the program. So like I've been saying, we guess not a possible need for belabor on for introduce because he's well known in the annals of social media. And Fambule, just for mentioning name for mention's sake, can we just please welcome on this last day of the first month of a very new year, Mr. Mohammed Kutubu Koroma. Mr. Koroma, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much for the invitation, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, so Famula, without much ado, let's just get straight into the program because this is about an hour program. Mr. Kutubu is no stranger to this platform. He's been here a couple of times in the last 36 months plus that we've been in existence. We are thankful to him because he's helped to keep this platform going. We cannot, say otherwise. But today we get an hour for talk to we about many other things the way they happen. So my first question to you, Mr. Kutubu, and straight, here for the conversation is you are neither a friend nor a foe of anybody, anything. Can you confirm whether that statement we are just make so is true, sir?
Absolutely right, sir.
Thank you so much. And on that basis, there have been many times in which waiting with the see play out, if ambulance see the topic and the flyer, waiting with the see play out is like completely different to waiting some people them don't look or listen to Mr. Kutubu Koroma, they talk. One, the political side of things. Two, the economic side of things. Three, the social side of things. And that also encompasses security and fiscal and monetary and you name it. Mr. Kutubu, some people think that you do defend the current system. If this is the case, based on USA Wideso now, where do you stand, sir?
When we open up, you make a statement, we find on the line what would they do? See, you asked me for confirm, whether I'm not a permanent friend, I'm not a permanent foe.
Very true.
In my doing things, I get what I call compartmentalization. Are they compartmentalized issues into context and perspective? Which I do by way of intellectual honesty. I therefore inject intellectual honesty. What precisely I mean by this is, if very possible, I will criticize you today. And as a matter of fact, you said only me victim of criticism, obviously. I should have been not criticized roundly. But still, we are friends still. I can criticize you today. Then by tomorrow, I turn around and I praise you. Then people say, wait a minute. Kutubu, you seem for me a bit inconsistent. Kutubu not take one position today, or turn around, you don't do anything. Sometimes I can just sit down and laugh. I say, yes, I can understand. Where they take me, listeners, then, to then kind of a route say, waiting only the fail for realize is that me way how they do politicking. If anchor is just one thing, principles, that's all. Anything we're not grounded in principles, I'm not part of it. Expediency, psychophancy, culture putianda, liberalism, modernistic praise singing, the extra, all the extra, the other one, we irrational demagoguery, that always fit inside the scheme. I'm not part of those. If this is not white, you go pick on a white. I know they use the word say, I think in a white. No, I know they think it is either it is white or it is not. But I think so, not a part of me or DNA. I don't go to school, but say I think so. I call the issues as I see them. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Kutubu. I'll take them from exactly what you say, but I want to dwell on the word principle and waiting a principle and where do we stand on the basis of principle, specifically to waiting you just explained just now. It go look like first of all, I want for we speak to Sierra Leonean people them. And where I say Sierra Leonean people them, I mean the 7.8 million or 8 million of us. The one that within a Kamakwe, where they don't river, Shebra land, Usami come out, and etc. I want to speak to them today. So on the basis of principle, you need to take a particular position. Now the people in their behalf you want to talk about. But then you mentioned the keyword principle. And on this keyword principle, some people then look like they find you like you they flip and flop. Flip and flop in the sense, today you there and tomorrow you there yonder, which is based on the same thing where you just try for articulate. Do you think that you are getting it wrong or you are getting it right on this basis, Mr. Kutubu?
It all depends on who that young calculus are they appeal to. It all depends. I don't know inside this business for too long. I'm really glad you line of questions today. This could tend for address any misgivings way people can think about me in position there. And I go back to with politics, the SFPP, APC politics, they go back just for try for build a case. And most times, I can really get a phone out of them. When I talk something where seem for dovetail the thinking of people that within an expertise, and the kind of all kind of equilibriums on Kutubu. Kutubu na this. Kutubu is it. Kutubu na landed man. Kutubu na this. All kind of I make a left for talk about psychopathic carpet bagging. This exactly. I like me. I can come up with them freeze it. At the same time, though, when again I talk something where they know then they look at me as somebody is nothing but a Lucifer. So you see they told the Luciferian how they call it jargons at me. And also Kutubu. This is synonymous with both parties, both SFPP and APC, not one party no more. I always tell them guy there so. Hopefully this will make them get an understanding that as far as my knowledge of Salion go, I don't know about Salion since 1808, where it be a colony of Mama Queen and Tuna. Yeah. I always believe in all we do, and this belief I get is being reinforced because of the long stay where I was staying in America, that in all we do, we Sardinians, that's what they call green, white, and blue, come first. Without green, white, and blue, there is no APC, there's no SFPP, there's no Julius Madabio, there's no Ernest Koroma, there is no Kanye Keller. Without green, white, and blue. Then they want it now as a result of green, white, and blue. So we first commitment or priority and activity for day to green, white, and blue. We for preserve, enhance, and sustain green, white, and blue. We for be able to muster the courage of conviction and moral fortitude and be intellectually honest for look with God and I face and tell us afar, yeah, you get it wrong, bro. But we're not going to do that. That's alone. We're not going to do that. For two reasons. Tribalism and regionalism. If I didn't SLPP, everything else way President Bio do, 100%. I go look President Bio like a utopia. Even though me no say there's nothing like a utopia. There's nothing like that. But because I'm a party, because I'm a leader, in order to make no mistake, everything he do, even at the expense and detriment of the country, is still correct. Because I'm a party and I'm a leader. I'm not able to muster the courage of conviction and fortitude for telling. Conversely, if I didn't APC, I go transmogrify me leader for be this kind of a mythical god, a demigod, and make a demigod. You know, they make no mistake. Now they make Nasalu, they give all kind of names. Then you call somebody world best. But this what they talk so, sir. If you could give me 2-3 minutes for wrap up.
Of course, take your time, sir.
Not only synonymous with Salono. Me study of Ghana politics. Tell me say now this been happen in Ghana under Afra Kwame Nkrumah. He was a god. If I mean in Ghana name Osajifo, he was a god. He was everything. When you talk about Ghana, you need to talk about the sovereign nation of Ghana. Now one man you talk about. He was everything. He was the be all and end all. He was the Alpha and Omega, neither the beginning and the end, neither the embodiment. So he became Ghana itself. These are the sort of politics this will get to Africa. We're not able to compartmentalize. We're not able to say, yes, you know what? I really like President Bio as somebody. And my friends in the NGC, threw me under the bus long ago because what happened? I dare criticizing God. Dr. Yunkela, he never makes any mistake. Dr. Yunkela now this kind of a utopia. If you criticize that, no problem. This are the politics is for Ghana alone, and at the bend this now in on deep into the fabric of things in that country until we begin to say, you know what? Green, white, and blue, big pass, all of the people here. Some of we don't decide, say, regardless of the misogynistic name callings, regardless of the narcissist diatribes, we remain firm, resolute, and with conviction say, green, white, and blue will always come first. Back to you, sir.
Okay, many thanks, Mr. Koroma. Still want to push back on a couple of the things that you say. For example, I still want to dwell on the word, like principle and waiting principle, actually mean in the noun sense of the word. And because now you mentioned, so I talk about I see whether we can connect that to you position them way you don't take. But it seems a little bit contradictory, if you go permit me, because when we talk about principle in the noun sense, Mr. Kutubu, when they talk about the fundamental truth or proposition where somebody can take in the service of a people, some kind of belief or behavior, where somebody stand on. And in that pursuit, you also talk about a man where me personally refer in terms because I come up from a tradition of African kind of leaders them from a period in which we talk about African redemption and etc. So you talk about Kwame Osajifo Nkrumah, and you talk about Osajifo and try for giving a kind of definition waiting the Osajifo mean or waiting Osajifo be mean. So we don't say Osajifo if we will be done study and don't say now I can't already then can sort of ascribe to the leadership, which means that leaders we don't become victorious in battle. That's what Osajifo is. And waiting make them in the title then, now because he became victorious over the war for independence, where most Ghanaians them, not all Ghanaians them, most Ghanaians them, meaning look forward to. And because Osajifo say, and I quote him, the independence of Ghana is meaningless until the entire Africa is free. Of course, that became his downfall and his iconic personality that he commands up to this day. Because as most of we they come for understand them, we they come for respect that. But coming back to you again, Mr. Kutubu, the principles then where you try for uphold over a period of time has become a bit contradictory to some. Because it's like shortly before they come to the studio, and even previously before, this conversation, it's like, where does Kutubu actually stand? at some moment, it seemed for the stand up, here for the government, which is good. But if the government didn't do well, let's say, for example, talking about the corruption trial, the COI, and etc., headed by ACC boss, Mr. Ben Francis Kaifala Esquire, why would Mr. Kutubu not stand up to these things, but he continue for condemn the other side? In other words, the then instead of the now. If that question they were posed to you, Mr. Kutubu, how would you kind of address that? Will you sort of put your mind frame in the people and when they ask that question there and try to understand why then they ask them, and what would be your response, sir?
Thank you. Well, people don't make all of this things that we do. The problem though, what they see, intellectual dishonesty, now the canker worm that we don't eat with sense of value, and we as more fun are the thing that we're responsible for the solid state of affairs. Okay, people that they waiting a while, all of these things, at the risk of sounding very self-serving. I don't get so much. I don't graduate inside any kind of convoluted way of doing things on the part of people. Then they waiting a while. Okay. Many a times I tell you with any degree of certitude, I don't criticize this government. I don't even criticize Mr. Benkepala. I've done that. But like I said, people that they waiting a while. So when they add and call and waiting to do, they put the narratives under where tend for winning support. Okay. When we start this conversation earlier on, I tell you this, that me own way, the way how me own outlook in life in the context of the sovereign nation of Salon, I tell you, me loyalty or waiting can force to me na Salon, because these leaders, Salon been there before these leaders can come, and Salon is going to be there where which leaders have gone. If you not believe, ask for the 37th president of the United States. Not anymore. But United States, they continue. Rivers, ask for the first president of the United States. The first president of the United States has long gone. He did a very good job now, but America remained, he's gone. That night they informed me on thinking that I cannot make you the nation. You cannot be the nation. That's not the problem that we are getting. You are not the nation. Leadership, what you get, not to a divine right, neither not to circumstantial freedom. Now, an honor and privilege where fellow citizens they bestow on you. These are the things that you not to be all and end, or you not to the best and brightest. Okay? Then give you a mark of honor. When you misuse and abuse the office, there are unintended consequences. Until we all, especially we the overseer. If I mean, problem is always with people that me and you with the overseer. When last if I ask you a question, just so you who done the prime minister and everything? No, unless who done the prime minister and everything?
Is that a question that you want to answer?
No, the question they ask you.
You want to answer, and waiting at the question again, can you repeat? Will you repeat the question?
The prime minister and everything.
You mean as we speak right now, sir?
As we speak now, yeah.
It's the Right Honorable Boris Johnson.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, okay, you come. I mean, the hope say you miss something quick now. Which I mean, the hope say you miss. You not put that side today, you just call him by name, Boris Johnson. Wait for you. Okay. You call him Boris Johnson.
Okay.
In Salon, when you are referred to the president, you really just forget whole lexicon. You have to go through all them grandiloquent titles. His Excellency, General, this and that, Doctor, this. America, who they refer to the president, the most they do now president this, or the most Biden or Trump. The thing is this, what I try for tell you, I try for simplify this. We the Africans, we now we make we leaders and not become tyrants, because the thing is we can kind of worship them. We don't make them a demigods. And all of this, like I say, it happened. Wait for waiting we now the country do, we divide ourselves into tribes and region. You like I tell you earlier on. No SLPP man will criticize President Bio. No, you cannot do that. Now, an unpardonable crime, Nandi. Neither no APC man will criticize by Koroma, even though he talks say after the presidential election, he would left office. State today is not in office as party leader. If you try for bring that up, not only then guy will throw you under the bus, they will therefore go around them for justify that. These are all the things. So in other words, the problem with leaders and they go to me and you now responsible because we're not honest enough, we're not principled enough, we not get the courage of conviction for saying no, you're wrong there. That's all they do things.
Okay, many thanks for that, sir. With all of the explanations, I want to pick up one or two keywords. And one of the most keyword, because this is part of the conversation here today, Kutubu. And I hope say the audience they follow. And audience we are the ask una share this, because the man who we talk to today is a huge voice on social media. The name is huge and it's synonymous, with criticism. But with that criticism, they come questions as in terms of who, what, why, when, where, and how. Luckily, we get them today, now the platform, so we did try to get to the bottom of this. So when I will see that we deal with a couple of critical issues then. So I pick up, something of a word where you use sordid, and I believe that's spelled as SORDID. And if me compass can serve me right, Mr. Kutubu, it sounds very much like an adjective which involves or means something which is immoral, something which is dishonorable. Now, the two keywords I want to pick from there, because I learned this word some time ago and this remain on my mind. I will therefore look them up again, and if I'm wrong, I stand to be corrected on it involving immorality and being very, very dishonorable. In other words, actions where you can consider as dishonorable. You use that within the context of the question where I ask you, can we attribute that to the current configuration, if we want for call on government? Would you attribute that to the current configuration, Mr. Kutubu? And I know they say you get for be outright, because I know they try for put you on the spot, but I know say you're a man, we can speak of the convictions. Let use your own, your phraseology, the convictions, of your conviction. And for best put the courage of your convictions, then that's what you speak to most of the time, even though sometimes we all can be wrong. So when I say sordid, are we describing the state that we find ourselves, or the Sierra Leonean people that find themselves in right now, sir?
The escalating nightmare, we if it's contemporary Sierra Leone today, born out of a lot of things. One, or perhaps if we put in a nutshell within the context of what you just now consolidate into context and perspective. Moral bankruptcy, intellectual dishonesty, lack of patriotism. These are the three things in there we don't eat deep into the fabric, of things that Sierra people are morally bankrupt. People are fundamentally dishonest. And people then really, really, to them, the nation not to anything to them. It is me, or what I get out of it. Let break down. This not to only the guys the way they sit down at the cabinet office. I know one will just focus on the guys the way they sit down at the cabinet office, or where they sit down at the diplomatic post. This also encompass even the clerks the way go send not for go work na Wataki. The cashiers the way go send them for go work na electricity corporation for let them go the pay, you know, let we go pay like bill and they put money there.
Yeah.
Involved a segment of society. The question we want to ask yourself, why Salone with all to get so in terms of even climate, we get climate. Why people will find it very hard for get for they make the two line for water.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Kutubu. All along, I don't give the chance, you know, you for develop the story, and you get for pardon me, not just because of time, because with me you can have a conversation over the few years we've been having it. We get the luxury of time, but as we become more and more professional, we go for cutting down, you know, for every segment, every second, every minute, for be very applicable to the people. And I know say you want to develop something, that's where you're going to. But here is the thing, Mr. Kutubu, okay? So I see somebody just put on the platform, it's not about you, it's about the issues, and that's very, very correct. It's not about you, it's about the issues, and the issues now they try for address, so they talk about water and etc. But Mr. Kutubu, for just cut this thing short till we come to the end of the program, you have been supportive in many respects, even though, I repeat, you can be critical, but largely you have been supportive of this current configuration where we call we government. Mr. Kutubu, where do you stand today as we speak? Because it is excusable that then, of course, because there was reason to be optimistic, but now we clearly get an idea of where we are heading. So between then and now, Mr. Kutubu, where do you stand, sir, and waiting you get for say about where we are and where we are going?
First of all, I'm not bad for dealing latitudes, neither I'm not killing for dealing suppositions or settled assumptions. I'm not killing for that. You already don't resort to settled assumptions as to me ideological orientations, also I stand on the issue. I've never told anybody. I mean, I'm a supporter of SFP. I've never told anybody. And
no, Mr. Kutubu, I didn't say anything as you being a supporter. And when you're not willing for settle down in latitudes, that's equally understandable, but on the basis of circumstantial, because you're not a very public figure. So we can draw on what you don't say over the few years or many months, and then create an opinion on that basis. We might be wrong, but that's where my choice of wording they come up from. It's not like I'm just trying to put you or lump you in one particular place without evidence, but it's just over the years, having watched you, having spoken to you, having you been my guest on the platform on a couple of occasions, that's where my choice of words or information they come up from, sir.
Right, well, the user tool can use in America, the right to your opinion. We in America, we strongly hold on to that. People then get a right to the opinion, whether the opinion is jaded or not, they get a right to them. So I will accept your opinion. But here is where I stand going forward. I will go back to South Stand. To me, Salongo always come first. Anybody will involved in effort, we get towards taking Salongo before I deal with you. I go back to that, my phrase, I say, I not get permanent friend, I not get permanent foe. Anybody we involved in a matter of times, where they help for move the country from the boulevard of progress to the avenue of success for the betterment of all and sundry, I deal with you, regardless of waiting at your ideological orientation. And you understand, anybody we involved in taking Salongo before, I deal with you. I'm politics in that. Anybody.
So, Mr. Kutubu, yeah, I mean, you get a huge voice and a huge presence in social media. Saying it sound more abstract, sir. Saying anybody we're willing, because Ernest Koroma, we obviously again you see USA opinion can be informed from public proclamations. We know say you're definitely not a fan of Ernest Koroma, nor are you a fan of the All People's Congress. So based on what you only say on public media, we get that informed opinion there on that basis. But for just generally say anybody, it does sound good. But as somebody, we get influence in social media. They inform on waiting they happen on social media for say anybody. And at this point, I mean, some people will be scratching their heads because you actually get people the way they listen to you and the members say, maybe Kutubu can direct me for go this way or that way. What would you say to such people that will depend on you instead of just this open, your sort of story, anybody or any party? Won't you want to inform your audience that we believe in you as to where for go? Then can make the decision, but this is what I think, instead of just being open.
Okay. Well, for that make me case very clear as to my opposition to APC. The APC party, I get a lot of friends saying I already tell them that. Even most of the guys in the NRM, when they talk, me opposition to APC party na a communist party. Na a party where get a doctrine way akin to wetin dey happen na Russia, China, North Korea. I can give examples for support that.
Yeah,
from which
please bring the examples.
Good. When you take the leadership from the circumstances of the beginning, you take from Chaka Stevens. He did it say until remember I come up with the name Pat Adai.
Yeah.
It as long as he can. When I grew up was 17 years, when you combine him being prime minister and being president, 17 years. Then we ready what he do? He hand over to somebody else. He not go through the cushions of the democratic process. Go tell I want lay cases and we go to make it suit me. And again, fast forward 2018 or 2017. The citizens, the Nguna Makeni, one man decide for anoint a leader. Now I give the reverse of that. I give the reverse. The reverse of that is in 1967, specifically March 19, Sunday, March 19, 1967, 4 guys get rid of Albert Magai as party leader and prime minister. In other words, what did I talk about? If we say we are a political party, we all forget its city. We all forget its city, not one man. I don't believe in one man. One man say that they politics they waiting. You see, you friend Russia they do, you friend Putin, and then old party in China, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela. No, you know the politics I want. Waiting you the politician that na Westminster now want. That politics of competition, that politics where everybody get a shot at, any office, that kind of politics we get under, now me believe in. And any country, we not believe in that kind of politics. Now politics of law select, put that number one, and what with you. You go always elect criticism. And that now one of the major problem with APC. APC not to open party, not a communist party. We now only few people that we don't do that the number one. Now main problem that we take.
Okay, Mr. Koroma, I will come back to the question where I ask shortly, because I think say we deviate. But just for deal with what you just talk about just now, because obviously this is where you become the star to some people. This is where the stardust of yours, a sort of dust off, a certain people. You are a very, very experienced man. And we can also say political party, the formations of political party. Now waiting they agree, within other people from the outside or even within can disagree, but now waiting they agree from the inside. Which you just articulate just now is like in terms of with body politique, one party is undemocratic and another party is democratic, and that sounds, you're like music in the ears of the people that we feel say the party is democratic, and that sounds, you're like poison in the ears of the other people we think say the party not democratic. So even though not only business for articulate this, but it also equally important for the general public for understand this, that people we first of all, I'm not going to be the one, here for lecture on this, but let people then take on the onus for go study waiting a political party and waiting the bind political party together and waiting finally the hierarchy of the political party agree on. And it not mean say there is much more difference between X and Y. For typical example, when Mr. Kutubu making an explanation, it might come from the forbearing of the United States and Russia. So the United States get this democratic process, which equally is very corrupt, but you get two corrupt systems, but the other people, they say, now so we want to do your own. So we look at Putin, for example, he said, now so I want to do my own. Again, Alex Navalny, when the opposition leader, we say he was poisoned, go to a foreign country and then come back and then expect him for let them roll, a red carpet for him. And this not happen any side, whether in Westminster, whether in the United States. It doesn't happen. Recently, we see what happened in America, also Mr. Kutubu Day. Total anarchy, over the entire place. So bringing this back home, the APC decides, say, now so we go do winners election. The other parties say winner election. But when we look into them, the two parties, they are exposed. They are all criminal. The two parties, the two parties are all criminal. Explain this for just baffle and fool people. Okay? Now, as we talk, Mr. Kutuba, we expect you for let you deal with, which in the on-go now, hopefully inside the other party, we want to claim the democratic ground. So from a democratic background, which we talk about, you're absolutely right, which you hope for see, which we hope for see. But here is the question again, Mr. Kutubu, okay? The state of the affairs as we direct onto the question of the platform or the flyer where we put out, we country day at a crossroads. We were promised one thing, and Mr. Kutubu, with all due respect, sir, USA we day now, where are we? You na person way, again, if I'm wrong, do you correct me? There was this strong feeling in you, and not only in you, in many other people, that finally we are taking a new direction, a direction from the old, a direction where will lead to the people, lead with people to emancipation, independence, prosperity. But this is not the case, Mr. Kutubu. What exactly is going on? If I'm right, if I'm not right, of course you can dismiss me, but if I'm right, what exactly they go on, sir?
Again, like I say, I don't take a critical look at the current dispensation. And I'm sure say, except otherwise, I'm be a me witness, but I should say you'll be a me. I should say you don't hear call openly for letting sack the governor of Bank of Salon. I should say in one of them podcasts, and you don't hear that. The man is just not up to the job. I should say you don't hear me even talk about the chief minister getting involved in conflict of interest. Because with the gap you there on the taxpayers at time, you go begin to get involved in personal agricultural business. And here we are talking, no, for help the government develop a policy, agricultural policy for the country. All that thing. Waiting me they do is that are they look at you they do, and the already where you due credit. I think say are self-respecting enough to give you the credit. Where you veer off course, I'm going to tell you. This night actually missing. When me and you start this argument here, so we go back say, waiting not happen now. Now, two things on sit down inside with politics. Two things, the region and the tribes. Once me come on at this party here, so now this region and this party. For we don't regionalize the party there. Then are they trouble number one. You know how we get out of this? The day we go and say SLPP nominate one northerner for let it be the party leader. the Adekola will be in get way out of this. Vice versa, the day will go yeri, say APC don't go nominate a southerner for lead them. Then that way we begin to put behind with small, the region and the Adekola. Now they will be small. Now they start first. Let we detribalize the party them. Let we de-regionalize them. Now they will start. All of this problem how they come also. Now from now, so now that means it is us versus them. Now that we win. Now we are all team. We don't care. Even if the other people they under, you get people that we get the cognitive intelligence, you get things the way they go able to bring at the table for healthcare the country. No, it's not with us. Now they come out. In order with three, so we not go bring another. So now therefore we begin first. One, now the regionalize the party then. Now the tribalize the party then. When we start from that angle day, say that man way they all the way now prepare. That man is strong enough for lead SIPP. That man way they all the way now Bunumbu Yanda is strong enough for lead APC. When we embrace that force, so you know the political inclusion, now they can't be me. The political tolerance. You're like religious tolerance. We don't know that a Muslim, we don't know that a Christian. We'll start that. We go de-escalate most of the entire so. Now that now me will answer that because we can sit down there from those two we discuss all the problems. But the next what they do, they look for the prophylactic measures them for address the existential crisis we don't before the country. And like I said, the two sides will start first with the regionalize the political activities and the tribalize them. If we would, alhamdulillah, we'll be in come up from the boulevard of August to the avenue of success. So back to you.
Thank you very much. And Fambulem, to those of us who are listening, this is a very, very critical and very, very significant conversation ongoing between me and Mr. Mohammed Kutubu Koroma, an eminent voice on the social platform. Sometimes he's here, sometimes he's there, but there is something that he definitely stands for, and I think that's what he's articulating. And this is what I am doing, trying to challenge him today so we can understand exactly where he is, instead of leaving a lot of us confused. But also, on this very last day of the first month of the new year, 2021, January 31st, is important, and this is going to go down in the history, and this is part of legacy that we are discussing here. But at the same time, there are a few people, it's necessary that we talk about conversation with the ongoing at the chat room, and a few people are going to recognize, and this is my very own sister, and Sister Frances Fode. This is interesting. I mean, there are many other people who don't contribute, and in fact, make a begin from other people and let me just recognize people and not the platform. So I'm not able to read all, so if I don't mention your name, please forgive me. It's not intentional. This is not my brother. Let me begin from Sister Janet. No, Ibrahim Sisse. No, Adama Mabu. Let's begin from Sister Adama Mabu because comments. So Adama Mabu says Kutubu and his Shakespearean English. Well, if this was a joke, Aristotle, blah, blah, blah. If this was a joke, to me, that sounds very much like a compliment, which means that the brother is much more informed. And sometimes, when they talk about prose and English and literature, we need to rise up, to that. So I get what his sister Adam had to say, and she means it in a light-hearted form because there's an emoticon. And then we get Ibrahim Sisse. Sierra Leone we all must stand for Sierra Leone. That's what Ibrahim Sisse. Good question about the past and the present on the office of the ACC stands. Sister Janet Musa. Let's talk about this government and corruption allegations. Of course, we will come to that. Thank you very much for the reminder. We want to concentrate on issues affecting the nation, which is we should not focus on Brother Kutubu, but on issues. Supporters are not the topic here. So I guess they go to other people that we feel say those that are supporting the government and think they are the topic here. No, they are not. We are talking about issues. And this is my brother Thomas Rogers and lightheartedly, key, which is becoming his trademark, and having a laugh. I do understand that. I do interact with the brother a lot. Eddie Grant, Kutubu with his big grammars. Of course, Mr. Kutubu is a learned man. Mr. Koroma, in my own opinion, as APC is, do you think that party will strive currently without Ernest by Koroma? Be honest to yourself. Okay, so maybe we'll pose that question to Mr. Kutubu. From Ibrahim Sise, is Ernest by Koroma going to survive without the APC? Rosalind Lahai, Mr. Kutubu is really not answering the questions. I cannot settle on my latitudes. Somebody been just the repeat on waiting. Mr. Kutubu say the latitudes. I can't settle on that. And then my brother go back again. My brother is pedantic. Kiki. Of course, that's Mr. Thomas Rogers. And pedantic means all the small little bits them you want for highlight them, forget to the main point. There he goes again. And we can go on and on and on. Last, Kutubu, why bring Pasheki era into 2021? Let me see. Adama Mambu. Okay, this man no go ever talk about Shaka Stevens in good and his Koroma, talk about SLPP whenever. Okay. Francis Fode, Mr. Kutubu, don't allow Prince to put words into your mouth. Of course, Mr. Kutubu is far away from that, and people are listening. Let's talk about the hypocrisy on the fight against corruption. So we can go on and on. There are a few comments. So I just want to come back to Mr. Kutubu. Mr. Kutubu, sir, you last talk about a very, very critical stuff. You talk about de-regionalizing, and there's a reason why you use that particular word there contextually. You talk about people that we want to destabilize, the current configuration of a government. You talk about de-escalating. You use a lot of critical words. You talk about proliferatic. Was it? I hope I pronounced that right, because I've been just
prophylactic.
Prophylactic. Okay, so I get them right. So we go ask you for expand on that. What exactly you be mean by that, sir? And then other measures them we the government need for take before I move on to the next question. So if you can just address them basic things and the way you talk about de-escalating, about regionalism, because the tempo has been heightened on them basis then they. I might be wrong because maybe they say I'm in a different reference, but at the same say, as a voice on social media, you are using all of these buzzwords for de-escalate, for example, means say the level where we are on, we need for Brian Kandom because it's not going to serve us well. So let's de-escalate. Regionalism is like if we preach with politics on the basis of regionalism, it's not right. We need for Brian come back. I don't know whether I'm right on that, Mr. Kutubu, but you know exactly what you say because now your last words, the way you use. Will you emphasize, please, sir?
Well, except somebody I don't know if anybody need Benjamin Franklin in lenses for see how the politics they go. Certain things in the what they do, we're not for denying the obvious, okay?
Absolutely.
We actually need to be very honest with ourselves, okay? There's no way we will sit down, we pretend say politics that Nasalo not to based on tribalism or regionalism. There is no way we will sit down, we look at say so. I can give you an example. When Kande Yunkela attempted for seek the SLPP nomination, which go through. To the extent they even get a name, Kenya Moina, so they begin call up. Hey, come on, man, let's be real. Let we not deny the obvious. The thing we don't about politics as Salona, tribalism and regionalism. Anyhow we look at, once you come on a southeast, automatically they take a you that SLPP. Once you come on a northwest, automatically you not APC. Anyhow we look at. Now just know now you don't talk now say APC not go survive without Ernest by Koroma. And these are the same thing I have to talk where we don't make we leaders and demigods them. How could anybody sit down talk say one party not go survive without one person? Now just one individual. You have other people them. They man not to a utopia. They man not to a demigod. They man not to the be all and end all. You also get other people them. Now for you give other people a chance to go see. One man not go be synonymous with an institution. Say without him, no. with or without Ernest Bai Koroma, but more without him, APC will function if they want function. Okay? Look, get this very straight. Except they say, now Solomon, then make a talk say that a communist party, because that they believe in. Ever since we don't know Russia, now Mr. Putin. We'll begin to call the leaders, we not come, we'll take them from the founders. Take almost leaders and don't get in Russia. We not go get past 7 or 8 on day. Almost leaders and only about 40 something, they don't get on there. Or till they die in office, they know they call. Yeah, nobody know they die in office now. You get time. Mr. Putin, they stay under say until you want go. Nobody know challenge you. These are the things that we talk about. So, me man, I don't want to let you underestimate the fact, say, politics that salon, not only we plan at either regional or tribal, level. When we pull land, when we pull a commodity, we say, you know what, now make it very easy. Say the day when we say SLPP nominate one man from Port Loco, say he had the presidential candidate for SLPP. Conversely, the day where we go say APC don't nominate one minimum from Sumbuya, say in head APC party. Well, you will see the changes there. But as long as we don't hold on to this, we region and we try, well, anyhow, we look at. So, I mean, you can disagree with them, but this is the way some of it they look at, bro.
Yeah.
That's how they look.
Okay, Mr. Kutubu. Very much thanks. That's my dear daughter just saying good night for tonight. Yeah, she's trying to retire to bed, so dear wanna forgive me. Okay, darling. Have a good sleep, yeah? Yeah. That's my lovely daughter. Mr. Kutubu, many thanks. So let's shift gear a little bit. Of course, the things then where you just say are absolutely right. Absolutely right, sir. But just that what we need for understand is the same people they are, now then they decide what they want and how they want to go forward with them. Be it the All People's Congress, be it the Sierra Leone People's Party. In fact, at some point, the Sierra Leone People's Party were known to be more democratic in the sense of elections process or processes than the All People's Congress. But I don't make the All People's Congress Party wrong. That been just the decision the way they decide for make all side waiting and decide for make. So typical example, All People's Congress say we go make a selection process, and SLPP say we go make an election process. I remember say I go cover an election process on that basis day, an election process about the SLPP in London. Yeah, I got kicked out. And today, most people don't even understand. And some other people try to make fun out of that. Now that I went for go cover. So it's like the APC is selection process, whereas democratically, the election process, which the SLPP embrace, was the process of the time. And go for go cover and they kick me out. That in itself just make me, think about this process then they talk about. And Mr. Kutubu, again, you talk lengthily and we can go into that and probably go have another session about Mr. Putin and juxtaposing that with the West. But of course, in the democratic process, the West stands out. The East is just a learner, but we therefore also keep that in context, that at some point in time, the East was competing with the West or vice versa, the West and the East. Somebody emerged as the winner. The West emerged as the winner. So they are learning gradually. But there is something else ongoing. But we'll leave that for another day. Let me come back again to we poor little country. Mr. Kutubu, you have been on the vanguard of advocating or speaking truth to power in many respects. Many respects. You supported the current leader of the ACC for good reasons. I've got no reason for doubt, sir. You also had a feeling of optimism, and I don't fault that. There is nothing wrong with that, with the current government in terms of the direction that they are going. 3 years on, Mr. Kutubu, the question is straightforward. Where do you stand with those two things? One, your trust and confidence in the process of fighting corruption headed by Mr. Ben Kaifala, and where we are today, and the current government on the mantra of a new direction. 3 years then, 3 years on, where are you today, Mr. Kutubu?
In terms of fighting the corruption, I think when I put Adi Macaulay, Joseph Kamara, Ben Kefala, I think Ben Kefala can't talk. When we look at the records, because Adi Macaulay, Joseph Kamara, if they may not actually do what they're supposed to do, we not go get commission of inquiry. Okay, that I can tell you straight off the back. There have been no commission of inquiry if Adi Macaulay, Joseph Kamara stood up and actually with all the powers, and ironically, and then by Koroma gave the enhanced power inside the ACC, but they not one. But then what the irony though, now seeing where they before prevent, now they defend them. They were supposed to even prevent the NCSO, but then they forefront for defend corruption. Okay, like I say, when I put your three together, I think say in good conscience, then Kefala come ahead of them. I mean, apart from the international equipment from all we don't. Now, also I stand in the context of government, in the government, I tell this again. By and large, what do they do? And at the expense of serving again, I tell you that today openly. I have ministers them where they personally they get in touch with me, and just not go I not go just display the notes the way they send to me.
Absolutely, ministers
where and up to yesterday, waiting me and the ambassador also talk. The ambassador of the United States within when he called me, this myself say at the show off at the most. Also it be. That mostly most of the things the way I say the government they look into it and they implement most of them. I got a call from the ambassador yesterday. So I tell you straight off the back. And even today, before I come on this show, he sent me a note. Like talk some of you know again, ministers then where they get in touch with me. Because for one thing, a lot of things the way they do, some of them guys historically they not been there around, they don't know how things be done they go. So we your job now for remind them, even this commission of inquiry will be a problem. So would have never been a problem. If only they may rewind history, then go back and see how the 1967 commission of inquiry we are drawn out. How they mean? We don't forget any problem also. But now the missteps the way they take, once they not compile a list, then within the operation, they say the list where they compile 90% of the people that were on the list are not done as them, they make a big year out of that. Whilst 1967, the list was blanket, everybody from the prime minister take handle. So nobody get this kind of
Okay, Kutubu, you are big. You therefore forgive me. Pause right there. We they come to exactly what you they speak to. I mean, just preempting, something what would they come to? You talk about the ambassador, and of course, it's not like you want to make big short about what have you. If the ambassador of your country speak to you, it's not really a big deal. That's what the ambassador should be doing, speaking to its citizens. So that's what it's supposed to be. But if they speak to you personally on a different level, again, maybe not because you've got a voice. And could that possibly be because he or she wants you to articulate the position of in government because they're representative of we government, not the United States? Could that be the case?
No, sir. Not really. He's been very honest enough for also tell me, say criticisms are acceptable. And this is a yesterday conversation. He said criticisms are acceptable. This he told me yesterday in conversation. Why I say appreciate, the roadmap, they equally appreciate the criticism also. Because the criticism they come with, the roadmap they come with criticism. So he's not asking me for promotion in government. No, no, no. I will not do that. I will never. If I want to do that, I go knock me belly for go get job. But the mere fact that I don't open the talks and I don't want job from nobody, I'm not interested in the job. So this is where me stand in it. Okay.
Since so you mentioned say the ambassador say criticism is acceptable, which is not supposed to be a big deal. But where is the official circle so we can quote the ambassador other than a personal conversation with Mr. Kutubu Koroma that criticism is acceptable? Where is it?
You don't ever you don't ever attempt for engage your high commissioner within England. I mean, I did this start for you don't engage your high commissioner.
Well, that's a very good question. I don't think say it necessary because my question to you is direct, which is where is publicly where the ambassador, our ambassador, being paid on taxpayers' money, saying, you know, that criticism which I agree with is necessary, but they say I'm publicly other than privately to Mr. Kutubu because I've not seen it in a public forum. Only the area from Mr. Koroma, which I believe say, yes, he or she must have said to you, which is quite necessary, but it should be in a public forum. That's all I'm saying, sir.
Okay, well, let rewind. These are the things about history where people they know, where people they dismiss history. You are aware of the fact that the criminal libel law has been vacated. You are aware of that?
A part of it, sir. If just let you know.
Oh, well, all right. Yeah. Anyhow, we look at.
Well, we elect very much as well, but we just want to clarify that.
Okay. Well, the mere fact that they even attempt for even vacate something on the books since 1965. What does that tell you? That tells you yes, they are open to criticism. So that's enough right there. If you not believe, there's a Mr. Barway on the how they call it now on social media now. Every day, even I think yesterday, they interview and even either today or some viewers or one of them this year because I see the flag and get for interviewing. So if free speech not be there, Mr. Barno will do what they do so.
What you saw Mr. Kutubu, okay. What do you mean by Mr. Barno will do what they do so? Where is Mr. Bar speaking from or who is he speaking to, Mr. Kutubu?
When Mr. Bar is in social media talking about corruption is there also. If even naming them.
Yeah, exactly. My question is because I take it that what you are saying is indicative, you know, of a government that entertains free speech. And I'm not saying that they don't, but you are trying to imply or insinuate that Mr. Ba is within, and Mr. Ba is not within, he's without. Even being without, which means away from the country from which he's speaking, is heavily being criticized by none other by the first lady of the country, and there are vitriol being thrown at Mr. Ba.
Okay, good. You remember you say as they go step by step, as they meet the bumps, the speed bumps, they bring you back. Remember what time we told you just earlier, we will start this conversation. When you then at SLPP, everything will happen at SLPP is correct, 100% correct. Even if it wrong, it's correct, everything. Equally, so when you then at APC, everything will happen is correct, regardless of whether the country is suffer. This now been telling we'll start earlier on saying two things that I don't have among the country. The 2069 already. Now we party, now we leader, now with this. Then you ask the fundamental question.
I have to push back on this, Mr. Kutubu, because you seem for to get me lost. Earlier on, you try for imply say Mr. Barr, who has been very critical of government, for which is received. The words are difficult for me to describe on how this guy who has been doing what we can only refer to as investigative journalism, which has got a receipt, by the way. In other words, everything that he's attested to, everything that he's alleged, he's produced a receipt. But what I just heard from you just now, Mr. Kutubu, is like you are against Mr. Barr, and you are for the people that Mr. Barr is criticizing, but you are trying to equally say that Mr. Barr has got the freedom, you know, to speak. And what I was saying to you is, Mr. Barr is not within. Because if he were within, from what we learned from, sir, it would have been different, because the first lady has come out and tried to smear the guy. He's accused the guy of being, some gender phobic, okay? And that's a serious charge. And Mr. Ba is not in Sierra Leone. He's outside, and the people that he is actually speaking to, Mr. Kutubu, is people like me and you.
Which I really want going forward now, let you disabuse the mind from this settled assumption where, as you don't inject inside this, forget me, who side you want to get me. You they assume, for example, you just don't make something where seem to imply that I'm supporting those people. No, me not to a robot. I'm not a robot. I think I get the cognitive intelligence. If it is sound very self-serving, I get the intellectual pedigree for able to discern something, for put things into context and perspective, and then extrapolate something that will make sense. Okay, I mean this there. Now let me tell you now, earlier, I'm not beholden to any political party. I tell you, we'll start this conversation. The party where I belong to now, the party of green, white, and blue. I tell you this. Make them patently clear.
So maybe I not get this right. So let me ask you directly. In the revelations by Mr. Cherno M. Alpha Ba of the Africanist Press, where do you stand, Mr. Kutubu? This is a direct question, because probably I did make a mistake from which you say earlier on I was dealing with. Where do you stand, sir?
If Mr. Ba if Mr. Ba gets citizen, Mr. Ba get evidence where they support corruption, Mr. Ba as a citizen can present that now the proper place for adjudication. It's as simple as that. If you get evidence, I'm not saying Mr. Ba does not have evidence, but equally so in law, if I know this, if they come on, this is a common thing that you don't need for being a lawyer for know this. Say the preponderance of evidence or the burden of proof, not to the accused, now the accuser in chief. So if Mr. Ba really want to do the show a favor, Mr. Ba remind me of that other guy we want him come talk say they don't put money in the chief minister in account 1.5 million. Fine, but the man not being come with the evidence for show the citizen. You see, it's not enough for make just to allegations. You see, you get to be very mindful for people that
Okay, Mr. Kutubu, and here is the thing. Because exactly I was going to come to this at some point in this conversation between me and you, sir. You talk about preponderance. I will not pronounce it the way you pronounce them, but I do understand the word preponderance, which is a legal terminology, okay? And you also, they talk about another allegation that was made against, I believe, is it, did you say the chief minister, sir? And I showed the 1.5 million case. Not so, sir?
Correct.
Okay. So here is the thing. And of course, I've been prepared for this because I did listen to one of you or two of your audios or your normal, thing where you can come with before we come on this platform. So here is the thing, Mr. Kutubu. You see where people get a little bit confused and lost when they listen to somebody who then come to believe in, such as you, because you're able to articulate issues and very, very convincing. Now you ask, for example, for an evidence, not only from Chernobyl, but you also use the Chernobyl situation for make them as an example or draw an example to an accusation earlier made about the chief minister in a $1.5 million case, which of course you don't believe. You don't believe that the chief minister, the accusation against the chief minister was correct. You're right not to believe whether it was correct, but waiting you they say now in terms of the reality of the matter, that's what most people are really concerned about. So let me deal about this legal preponderance where they talk about. Okay. First of all, Mr. Kutubu, have you read first question, sir. Have you read the articles put out there by the Africanist press regarding these allegations where we did talk about? Have you read them, sir?
I don't follow the man in broadcast.
No, not the broadcaster. I'm being very, very specific because I know.
I know about, I don't follow the broadcast.
Exactly.
I say to the effect. To the effect.
Okay, Mr. Kutubu. This is exactly why I asked the exact questions, because I know this. I do have these problems all the time on social media, which is a broadcast and a print media or publications or publication, singular, plural, are two different things. In a publication, you get for read and understand and see materials which are effective or indicative of what a person eventually they come, like for example, me and you, they talk now. You might tell me about something, but you go make a reference, say, go read, or here is the citation. So with a man of your level, this is what I expect, and this is what I suspect, and that's what you are confirming, that you haven't read the publications, which most people they go by, and when you speak, because a lot of people come for belief in what they say, and you haven't read the publications, so therefore you don't refer people to the publication, there is a problem right there. But here is the news, Mr. Kutubu. The job where the brother do is a very good job, sir. And I risk myself for say I'm publicly on a platform talking to an eminent person as you. It's a very good job. And I just spell out the distinction. When you just listen to the broadcast, of course, people will ask questions just based on the broadcast. It's necessary. Oh, where the proof? Oh, where is this? Where is that? But I don't expect that of Mr. Kutubu Koroma. Absolutely not. So there is a publication in which every document, every accusation, every allegation is receipted. There is a receipt, forensic receipt, Mr. Kutubu. So there is enough for Mr. Ben Kaifala, the chief ACC boss, for even act on, Mr. Kutubu. So now that I understand, say you not see the publications, so I can understand. But it go fine for the see the publication. Does that make any difference, sir?
No, the answer to that come by way of question. What then does man do with all this evidence we get, the mails of evidence we don't get? Now for just keep on talking, or we can go forward. What then do you, what did the man for do for help the country? What do you think the man for do?
Okay.
All that's a question.
Yeah, Mr. Kutubu. If that's a question, I'm very much happy for answering. Obviously, the intention of the man is, for let people answer questions, let people come for justify how much they bleed the Sierra Leonean economy, how much of processes and procedures are being abused by those that we entrust with power. That's what the guy is doing. That's what he's done. Okay? And in the pursuit of that, Mr. Kutubu, all he's received is abuse. And people will not understand what he do, that na ignorance. And some people will actually understand what he is doing, but are benefiting from the system. So they pretend as if they don't understand what the guy they do. But of course, it's recorded. First, the first lady said, one of the things the first lady said a long time ago, but we've been there in receipt of this, that she's not receiving any money into our office from the consolidated fund. Many, many months after Mr. Kutubu, she's now accepting that she does. She's receiving, and she's trying to justify the money where they receive. So these are two different circumstances, sir. In a try for justify now first, no, I'm not being received. If you can recall, it's we say now that your money now they use for buy furniture. Or now government money now they use for buy furniture. And not only once, but a couple of times. So there are many things I can go into and deeply because I don't study them. But the violation here, it comes in twofold. One, there is a clear abuse of processes and procedures because we country in financial law, it frown on that. It's a no-no. So what they found is a way for channel money from the finance ministry to the office of the president and onwards to the office of the first lady. Hence the argument by the minions, the cyber vuvuzelas Green Brigade on social media is like the office of the first lady is an extension of the office of His Excellency, as if we on psychotic drugs. That doesn't wash. And then they play on many good people with integrity on that basis. But these are the technicalities. But let's leave this for another day, Mr. Kutubu.
No. You don't make a broad statement. No. This needs to be answered.
Oh, yeah, of course, sir, if you can. Of course, we got time. I'll give you all the time, sir. Go ahead. Yeah.
How much branch of government you get Salo?
Did you say how many branches of government? And if that's a question and I get them correct, then
yes,
it's three branches, sir: the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative.
Also under the supreme body and 3 branches in there.
The executive.
Exactly. This is exactly the problem. Exactly. For let you sit on here, for talk say the executive line at the supreme body, it's exactly the thing we need to talk about today. All of this thing we need to talk about, so you don't take them, you don't put all. But you fail for educatory on the fact say, the Parliament of Salion bear the climate or blame for this kind of a thing. First of all, the office of First Lady, not to an elective office, neither the Constitution make no provision for the office of First Lady. So enough for receive any fund from Adam Column. Right then, I do the start so. But because you get a parliament with complacent, you get a parliament we don't know what they pan. This accounts for why we don't get an executive branch of government where they exercise extraordinary and plenipotentiary powers then at the expense of the country. All of these things, the role of parliament are 2 roles and then gets. Ask anybody to tell you. You call for hearings and then you investigate. You want to tell me, say, parliamentarians and then a saloon, this thing with this money, they're not the A. Wait for me, they call the Minister of Finance of the Hill. You want to tell me that? Say they're not the A.
Okay.
Or like whether we get that problem in the bank, where the governor say we don't get money. You see they hold any hearings on that? You see they call the governor of Bank of Salo? You see they call Minister of Finance? No.
Mr. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you want to say something quickly on that? Yeah, I just want to push back on that and move on.
Okay, well, no matter how we push back, but the fact of the matter remains here. The parliament in Salo is also complicit in the misgovernance of the country because they refuse to step up to the responsibility.
Okay, Mr. Koroma, thank you so much for that, sir, and I appreciate that you say that. You see, the most important thing here is you have acceded, that something is fundamentally wrong. You have also make us for understand that there are a couple of things which can happen to any one of us that we don't really understand. This now will be tried for established, and what you also don't do is the parliament, we're supposed for intervene in the issues there because their money they already talk about if I don't come up from parliament. But you know why? We can blame the parliament, but the parliament gets away with that because of the same question where you ask. Critical question. What are the 3 arms of government? Which one is the most powerful? Of course, I've answered that, so we understand that. So we go to the Justice Cowan recommendation on doing some of the powers where the president of the republic gets. And we know why a president of the republic now visits that constitution day where the late Justice Cowan be recommend, may his soul rest in peace, because that will strip him of some of them powers. And this is what me and you need for the advocate on media. Then changes, then they are absolutely necessary. We can't get somebody to sit down before we until we say, even buy water for me, then we'll go check the records 2019 audit report. When I'm the next question to you, how do you see the audit report 2019, Kutubu? You are a media host, a major talk show host on social media with thousands of listeners. What's your view? Because then they try for smear Lara Pias, Taylor. They try for tell we, not only government, the government might be responsible, but under covertly, but overtly, now the Green Brigade, the soldiers, then they try for make we for understand something. But as a huge voice on social media, what's your view on the 2019? Because I've never had this opportunity for ask you on the 2019 audit report.
You recall where we begin this conversation. One of the things that I tell you that because people that don't get so much sucked up either in empathy or with the leaders, so everything waiting to happen. Remember, propaganda they play a huge role in the affairs of the country. Remember this. Don't underestimate the potency of them. Yeah. Once the students are here, the other people they make a whole lot of hay out of them. I'll give you an example. When the commission of inquiry starts, they call that witch hunt. Remember, no? Imagine that the name that we understand witch hunt. Now, when the what you call them, the auditor general's report don't come out, all man not begin here and name again. In order not even waste time on this, we go back to them until we adopted in a call page 20. Okay, no, now so even the Republicans them condemn Mr. Trump because they say now incite violence. That's true. They say now incite violence. Now what they do? They even don't charge them again to Parliament, where God forbid he lost the case they get is finished. When you know happen at Salon again. Afar, I tell you this word, but you know the critical. You know the critical. Until we move away from this extreme partisan business, we move away from making we leaders and demigods, and we really you know what this country has Salon our country is. Now the only thing is we'll get anything now we tend for via or we go via, of course we will carry this country go before we all will come as a team. We talk about we all will stand up. Now the patriotism we're not in the country now is responsible for all of that. It's very possible say that woman all the job what you do they're very genuine and all that thing. But what thing happen now? It don't get down in partisan. It's very likely.
Which woman will you talk about, Kutubu?
Pierce say
but Mr. Koroma, why would you be saying? You see, this is the problem. You think for me
very possible say everything
no. You don't know about Mr. Kutubu. With all due respect, sir, this is where you appear for be a conflicted person. Call a spade. Call corruption. But you see, you appear like say you're trying to play, this game, of being in the middle, which is not really.
No, you're getting it wrong. You're getting it wrong, sir.
Yeah, but why? So why are you saying this about Lara Pias? Are you okay? Let me ask you. Okay, let assume say let take you what say are wrong, Mr. Kutubu. Okay, but let me ask you these two direct questions. One, what's your opinion about Lara Pias in the 2019 report? Then one question, and I'll wait for your response, and I'll ask you the second one, please. Let's see how wrong I am.
The woman present and find this as Isiam. That's what
as Isiam. How much of the audit report and the process you understand, Mr. Kutubu? I know they try to put you on the spot, sir. Not at all. But would they talk about the audit report process and what you get for go through? Because we not just get for make like say now Lara Pias now he own the audit report. The audit report is a process, it's a documentation of the government of Sierra Leone. It might not go down well because it might be, implicating the government in terms of how they went about their business, but it is an official document and it's ruled by the Public Accounts Committee, na Parliament. So it's not only Lara Pias. If only we understand them as such, we go understand, say, not only Lara Pias, they sit down in bedroom one day and decide, say, because I don't like SLPP, this is what I'm going to do. Because I don't like APC, this is what I'm going to do. If we understand them differently, say not so they work, that there are processes and procedures and independent, then probably our thought process will be different, sir. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, for piggyback on what you say, I will continue for stand firm on the argument that once we left for look at things from a narrow partisan lens, we begin look at things of where actually now Ingo take the nation from point A, it can go to point B. We will begin for make a headway. if everybody get open mind about the audit report, remember, these are the finances of the country, not to SFPP get the money, neither not to APC get the money, and the sovereign nation in money than it. So if reports don't come, you know, where lay claims, he has a misappropriation not take place, misapplication of the money not take place. Again, when they go back to it, we tell you, where is the role of parliament here? Where's the role? Again,
okay.
Go back.
Okay, that makes it open. I want to ask 2 or 3 questions and just quick jabs, you know, yeah, for let you answer quickly, and then we end this program. But I really want to appreciate you and Fambulem. I want to say thank you so much for the number we tune in. Of course, we're not going to expect this big number, and we're not saying for multiplying to the thousands, we get for watch subsequently. But tomorrow we get the deputy leader of the ADP party of Kamarimba Mansare, where they can't explain to we exactly what they go on. Most of them where they follow, we don't know say government by some action via PPRC or APA don't dissolve the ADP, and again, it's like way different people they take over some corporation. That's what it looks like now. So Kamarimba is just an ordinary person according to what has been enacted. But tomorrow, when they talk to the deputy leader, Mfaji Kaba, right on this platform, 9 p.m., not forget for tuning. And if anybody get questions or issues, then we they want for discuss, you can send that to me via my email, which is only1prince, @yahoo.com, or thenandnow.community@gmail.com, or my number there, or you can send something to me via WhatsApp or the process what they use right now, which is Messenger and Facebook. Mr. Kutubu Koroma, what are your view about how Francis Ben Kaifala they conduct the anti-corruption unit as at present? You know, you come out USA will be there to USA we there now with all of the wahala where don't they fordong and blah 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 blah. What are your view, sir? How Mr. Kaifala they conduct?
He's doing a professional job.
He's doing a professional job. Okay. That's a okay. You want to go further?
I don't know if you want to expand. I don't know how well. I mean, he has me believe see from which he had see. He has done his job without fear or favor. He has not failed to call the issue as a Siam, although not to everybody go Siam in that light today. Again, for the records, most times I can get to them personally behind the scene and draw in attention to certain things that we are see for the handling.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I must tell you, say when you compare him to in 2 predecessors, them, so really today he's doing a good job.
He's doing better. Okay.
Now, my very honest opinion that about he's doing a good job. Yeah.
Oh yes, I get it, Mr. Kutubu, and I respect the opinion. Time will tell whether indeed what Mr. Kutubu say is right or wrong.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. The first lady, you know, there are some certain things that I mentioned just now. Apparently, you not appear for the in the know or understanding, you know, like the procedures of we finance laws and etc. Even though people and they try for make we for understand something different, but for all of these things we don't happen, and you try for blame the Africanist press. But I just want to ask you generally, in terms of the way the first lady they conduct himself. And these not to direct questions. You can dodge them, you can refuse to answer them. What's your view, sir, if you do have a view? Generally about the first lady.
Again, I go back that unfortunately, Italy, you said don't fall in that category. You the yeri what you want yeri.
No,
unfortunately.
No, sir. No,
if
sir.
you know the yeri what you want yeri, if you know the robustly, I don't criticize the first lady. Robustly. I don't make clear no say nobody not elected. You know, accountable to nobody. Yes, in as much as he want help in husband, but he get for one behind the scene. But he not go take a public role like that without consequences. And because when you put yourself in that fiery line, if you not give examples of what a first ladies they won't know, or first gentleman they won't know, even as when they help their spouses, they do it from the back not from the front. Main problem with the first lady, he then at the front, and I don't take exception to that.
And that's the point. What's your view on the general direction of the new direction? What's your thoughts about this, Mr. Kutubu?
There are, of course, as you can, there are speed bumps. Then we not go. There's no talk speed bumps, there are speed bumps. Mistakes are also taking place here. Just like you already tell the president that the president govern from backwards instead of from front. For example, even this the education program we bring or free school, the idea fine, but like I talk one of the broadcasting. If na me or if I been get advice, me not be ever an advice of depending on not how they start. We start off by building every infrastructure in this country, every school from primary school to the university level. We bring them back to acceptable standard. We get them why they get internet. We reduce the classroom size because how on that even then afternoon school when they all say where we in a go school in the 60s. We are old people there now because we are yesterday people there. Now one shift we will go school. One shift will not be get 2 shifts there. For all of it. So if I mean I be president, I will spend enough time bringing the schools them back to which we don't used to do. We get good building them. We get teachers and where they don't train, where they pay them because all they tell they see exam malpractice them. Teachers they make money on the side because they know they pay.
So my final question, sir, just because of time, but just before I pose the final question to you, have you articulated this in terms of pen and paper, like a policy proposal, if you will like, because that's what it is, because we all can make them mistake and kind of talk. The president probably, most likely, not probably, might want to see some kind of documentation. And then we think, say, where we talk by accident, because the president is so much busy, he's probably not going to listen to us or hear us, not listen to us, but hear us. Some presidents do listen or they get the kind of people that they listen to. But let me say the president, all of this, you don't put on a pen and paper to be, articulate them properly and forward them through the channels because it's your right to do so. It's my right to do so. You're just for help because if it works, it's for the benefit of every one of us. 2 last questions. One, I want to answer in 30 seconds, 1 minute. The firing of Dr. Sandy. What's your view, sir?
The firing of Dr. Sandy?
Yes, Lance Minister.
Yeah, to me, it's long overdue.
Long overdue. That's the key. That's the key word, Kutubu. You need not go further because that answers all of it. How optimistic are you? The president during the new year spoke to the nation and said, my people, he admitted, to the general populace, which is a good thing. And I find it a good thing, and it is a good thing. The president admits, not directly say, I don't fail Una, but when you talk about optimism, that means USA will come off from, it did below the standard of USA we come off from. So when they talk about USA will go, let me express optimism. The president did give you that optimism there. Mr. Kutubu, the dire truth is the state of the economy is bad. The fundamentals of the economy is rubbish. The Leons is fledgling, is dropping, massively. The the GDP, the growth, remains, dismal, 3.5% for 3 years. As we speak now, and as the president assures we on the basis of being hopeful, let's be realistic. Mr. Kutubu, as usual, you're the person where you speak out there, you're speaking truth to power, the courage of your conviction from the beginning of this broadcast. What are your thoughts, sir?
There's much, to be done. And the way, if the president, just like we have been talk him, I will repeat it again. The president, 2 things he needs for do. There has to be a major shake-up of the advisors with they around them. It appears a good number of them guys, they really know they're in sync with what the president do. But that aside, one of the things that we don't openly advocate and in the that other than the president focusing in long-term, projects such as Lunge Bridge, let he address, the existential quagmire with the face the citizen, namely bread and butter issue, trying for, electricity supply, water supply, housing, or some perhaps even food. You get certain things that way it's tangible within the city. For example, when we talk, I can for talk in terms of how me come up. What come up, the last time we have been no effective water supply in a salon, now be Saturday, November 25, 1961, where the Duke of Edinburgh be going to salute, you go commission, you go Valley. Now that tell me maybe no that. Okay, streets they get pumped, hosts they get pumped. So what did the president need for do? He need for address it here where people they can relate to. Oh yes, we don't need for people that they go rubber and they work they go look for water. We don't need but to carry the car begin to supply water. No. These are essential things. Now you can ask to say how you think the government cable address that issue like water, electricity. It's very easy if they want to. One of the reasons the way they appoint all the guys there for camp overseas, you send them as ambassadors, high commissioners. Now they place that when they can meet, they knock now then to watch them where they able put with case them. The United States Army Corps of Engineers they cable care electricity gonna salute in no time like that. In no time. That now water also, but you never forget the people them, we get the ability for me, the right people them, they not can afford. And as I wrap up, that tell you something. When
okay, Mr. Kutubu. I'll give you the last word, sir. Sorry again for interjecting. No problem, of course, you will have the last word for wrap up. But I mean, just want to touch on one or two of the things where you say you make it sound so easy and so light. It's like, Mr. President, if you want to forget running water, and you mention a time, and part of that time, a time where I meet. I live in a house, where I can turn my water faucet, and I will get water for either brush my teeth or a commode, for take bath. I live upon 30 Guard Street, not a Dovecourt. And then many years ago, we trade station, just a few yards, yeah, of course. And then I live na 13A Pownell Street, which is the house of the late, yes, sir, Koso Thomas. So when they talk about turning your faucet and then pump open, okay, pump open. So I live in that time. But here's the point, Mr. Kutubu. You make it sound very light because the reason why I say so, if the way how you explain them from just your honest and humble position, and governments of every different shape or kind cannot have this right, what the heck is wrong? That up till now we cannot get it right. And not be say what you talk is wrong. But imagine all the same people there are, some of we don't can study, we go advise government. Still government cannot get the issue of water right, electricity right. Something fundamentally wrong. Mr. Kutubu, it's been a great run. Wrap up this program for me. It's been a great program. You got 5 minutes. That's a lot of talk.
Well, in fact, I could do it in 1 or 2 minutes. I don't even need your 5 minutes.
Brilliant.
I put in a nutshell. For less I don't come up from the boulevard of progress to the avenue of success. Now, one to get for do. We all get for understanding. Now, one thing we get, then as alone, not to SFPP, not to APC, not to Microma, not to Gilos Madabio, not to any of them, not to Canadian Keller. We get alone. So we as citizens, now we place that for do everything we think we power for make sure so we all help for care the country go before. So in all we do, let we always remember say Salon big pass all of it how they talk about the leaders, the parties. That's it. That's it.
Okay. Many thanks, Mr. Kutubu. Like you say, you will use less than the 5 minutes, and that was less than 120